Welcome back to The Death March to a Parallel World Rhapsody, Episode 2. This one, I'm covering episodes 5 through 9. I originally was going to stop at 8, but I didn't realize, though, 8 is actually a cliffhanger that leads to episode 9, which kind of wraps up this particular arc. Now, these episodes, I can easily tell just by to watch them that, yeah, these episodes adapt book 2 of the series. So, pretty much the first book pretty much covers the first, I'd say, actually, no, first book actually covers the first 5 episodes. 6 through 9 pretty much is basically book 2. So that kind of means that the last 3 episodes adapt book 3 of the series. Okay, yeah. This arc introduces a few new characters to the series. I think it's about 4 that I can think of. You have the character Mia, who is voiced by Tina Bellard, who some people know her as the voice of Happy from Fairy Tail. Yep, I know, in case you're wondering, I do not know what the actual count is of how many series I've seen this woman in. Okay, she voices the elf princess Mia, who is connected to another character. Now, the thing starts off basically where, of course, Sato and Xena are on sort of a date. Of course, they bring along his slaves with him, though they were like his kids. They go to a play, which this actually helps sets up what they mentioned about the whole thing about that Zen was a villain. Though Zen himself actually shows up at the end of, I kid you not, he shows up at the end of episode 7. Yep. So episode 5 pretty much is simply that Sato got a chance to talk to Lu and, well, Arisa, and figures out they're both Japanese. Well, in the case of Arisa, she is a reincarnated Japanese woman. In the case of Lu, she is a descendant of a Japanese man who her great great grandfather was in fact Japanese. And what does Arisa do as a thank you for bringing him home? Well, basically her Lulu stay in the room with Sato while the other 3 girls stay in the stable, which they don't have a problem with that. They get a nice little comfortable thing to sleep on. Though they also take time also for our next episode to look for a house. Now, Arisa, as a thank you, decides to use her magic to seduce Sato. She even makes out with him. Oh, and there's a scene that comes just before this where Sato's about to go to bed, and for some reason, Lulu and Arisa are completely naked. In case you're probably asking, Nick, did this happen in the light novel? Yes. Yes, it did. As a matter of fact, there's an illustration of this particular very scene. I'm like, and even he's like, no, I'm not interested in that type of service. Yeah, and of course, Iris is like, oh, a female slave is meant to be able to pleasure their master. That's paraphrasing what she said. He's like, no, I'm not into little girls. Yeah, he had mentioned that he thinks in his head that he's not into little girls. That's a Laocoon thing. He's not interested in at all. And she ends up basically sleeping in his bed, still completely naked. And he, of course, keeps his shorts on. So, and of course, Xena shows up the very next day and sees Arisa in bed with him, and she has the wrong idea. Of course, she thinks that Sato had sex with her. No, he didn't. He did not. So he proceeds to get dressed and hop out the window and chase her down. Basically starts dancing. Basically explains it was all just a misunderstanding. And then, of course, they go to a house. And they couldn't exactly find a house. Especially since they're the one place that looked quite nice, which is actually not that far from our brothel. Yeah, not a good place to have. So they couldn't exactly find a house, but they do, in fact, get a cart. Yep. Because the owner of the cart was going to retire. He was a traveling merchant. So he ends up partying. Now, then, of course, like not long after this, the city is attacked by giant ants. Yep, giant ants. And luckily enough, they would take on the ants no problem. Though they would save a shop that basically is run by an elf. Yes, an elf named Nezu. And of course, while Sato saves the shop along with him, and Nina, the the person who works there is like, oh, you get a reward, you get a kiss. So do you, manager. Yeah, it's very... Now, it's openly stated that she has feelings for her boss. Which, it's not really known exactly if he incorporates those feelings or not. I have no idea. So, then of course the soldiers take him out to, like, maybe to a bar. Nope, takes to a brothel. And then she sees that, well, there's some shadow stalkers come about. There's a weird night with a person in a bag. Take it to the shop. It's like, oh, the excuse was in the bag. Like, oh, I brought somebody who might be able, who knows you. It's like he doesn't know the were-rat, but he does know who's inside the bag. Princess Mia. Yeah, there we go. She's actually a elf princess, and she's 130 years old. I did look up how old the manager is. He is 150. Despite the fact he looks like he's in his 20s, I'd say. Mia looks like she's about the same age as Poosh and Tama. Yeah, she looks like about 11, 12 years old, despite being 130. Quite young. And she's very nervous on Sato at first, though she does come around to him eventually. And then while some of the girls are sleeping, then of course we have Zen himself shows up, who is voiced by the ever awesome David Wade. Yeah, the first time I ever heard, the first anime I actually watched with him doing a voiceover, was actually Fairy Tail 3 years ago. Yep. I have in that series. There was also One Piece. He was also in the series Is It Wrong to Show Girls in Dungeon? Yep, he was in that one. A lot of the time, he usually voices a lot of good guy characters, and this is one of the few times he voices a villain. Though, here's the thing. He shows up at the end of episode, I believe it's 7, and he's there for that episode. He shows up in episode 7, and he basically, actually episode 6 shows up, and he's there for the next few episodes. Yep. So, he and of course you have Sato and Iris that basically briefly take him on, and he takes Mia to the cradle. Though the girls stay there, while Subaru decides to go to rescue her. First getting through the Abyss prison, though he said breaking no problem. It's like, oh, you have to basically go through the challenge of the cradle. Can't fight me just yet. And it turns out the cradle is actually a giant tree that's 200 floors. That mentions also that every 20 floors there's a staircase. Basically, the reason why I think it's so high. And he goes into place, not much of a problem. And he comes across a forest spirit that has a form of a child, which, like, oh, I don't want to fight you, I'm tired. Can you give me some mana? So she proceeds to make out with him, making her the second woman to ever kiss him in the series. By the way, he gets kissed by this particular character 3 times. Yes, 3 times. But the kisses just take some MP. He goes through, and then he, of course, goes up. He wants to go to the 200 floor. It's like, I can't access that. I can take you to the 100th floor. It's like, okay. Goes there. Comes across 3 homunculi. Yes, homunculi. Which the way the series explains it is that they're artificially created humans. Okay, I have heard the term homunculi in a few different anime I've watched. And a lot of the time, like one series that homunculi was brought up in was, I can top of my head, like the first one I can think of besides this one, was the series Full Alchemist. Yes, they had several, the villains of the series were homunculi. Basically artificial humans. That part is true in a lot of anime I've watched. Basically, a few anime use this term. So, he doesn't kill these homunculi. He just simply, he briefly battles them, though he's, the number 7 basically stays. Yeah, number 7. And he just simply knocks her out. Takes her to another room, takes some items, and comes her Dacid. And when it carries some mana, like, can I go 200 floor? It's like, I can take it 180th. Like, okay, fine. And then, of course, he goes up to the next floor, not much of a problem. Goes up there. Then he comes across Zen again. But okay, you kind of have the right to face me, but not just yet. I want you to face off against all my homunculi. and all these other creatures. Now the homunculi, he's able to basically just punch them all in the gut, basically just knock them all out. Takes the creatures no problem. And then he's like, okay, yeah, everybody face me, you ever have to kill me now. Here's a holy sword, kill me with this. He's like, okay, before I kill you, can you explain to me your backstory? Which is basically the story they use for the play that was seen at the start of this arc. Yeah, where he was a reincarnated human. He found himself a beautiful wife. He was married for her for quite a while, and then all of a sudden a noble decided to steal her because he basically fell in love with her, and decided to basically put in prison on trumped up charges just so he can get her. And then he's executed, but he comes back. But he does find the head. Later on, he finds his wife dead. It's not stated here. It's like he says, "Oh yeah," he's like he was basically went through it like it was just garbage. Basically, what this noble did to this guy, to Zen's wife, he raped and murdered her, based upon pure lust. So, what did he do? Him and his remaining member, him and the rest of the family, which he managed to resurrect, managed to kill the noble and his entire family. Oh, they don't show it. He just says it. Which, the way they explained the play, yeah, it definitely did happen. So then Sato kills him. And of course he keeps the Holy Sword, which apparently this is the same Holy Sword implied it killed the Demon Kings, and not really stated. And then we see two, and of course Zen dies. This happens in episode 9. And then of course, well, these two creatures, basically, these two purple lights pop out. Like, okay, you defeated them. We'll see you next time, hero. And he slices at them, and then he takes Mia. Though he managed to gather up all the homunculi with the exception of one, have Mia transport to someplace else. He goes back down to rescue the seventh homunculi. Meets up with a druid, trains some MP, takes him outside, and despite the fact the place is turned to salt, like, don't worry, I'll be fine. Any place there's a forest is perfectly fine. He's like, okay. And then he uses transport. Apparently, he managed to get to where the girls are, where they're camping. And apparently, he took the time to make himself a backpack and basically stuff the homunculi in there too. So the homunculi. Oh, I should also mention basically, Arisa basically, when she was a previous owner, had her basically drive carriages, and she basically was one who basically drove it, and he basically purchased it. And before the whole Zen thing showed up, basically he was going to ask permission to transport Mia home, which I don't think Mia would have a problem with that at all, because she's gonna be really good friends with everybody. And that's when Zen showed up. And of course this happened. Of course he got the card, purchased at a good price. Though he doesn't use it just yet. Then the seven homunculi decide to take the wedding ring. This is Zen's wedding ring to his late wife. Sixth homunculi basically volunteered to go to the wife's grave to bury the ring with her. He's like, take as much time you need, but he's like, okay, leave one with you. And it's number 7. And he names her Neo, which is, with the way the name is explained right online, it's Japanese for 7. Okay, and well, Arisa is not very happy the fact we have another woman join the party aside from Mia, and they go in their carriage, and they go off. Now, Xena, basically, who was actually private for leaving, she, of course, meets him of course, she's very happy because, well, he apparently was kidnapped, but he was later rescued, and she's, like, very happy. It's very implied she's got feelings for him. And then he leaves, and before he leaves, Xena stops him before he goes. He does the city, but excuse me, she has briefly talked to him because she wanted to say something before he goes. And, well, he reveals to the girls that she'll be able to join him in spring. And then, of course, Neo decides to be so hilarious to basically have her take Sato's face and bury it in her chest. Yep. And, of course, Arisa is telling Lou, basically, help out. He's like, I can't, I'm trying to drive. Yep, and then they set up some subject stuff for later, and that's that. Great set of episodes, and kind of a good idea for me to make sure I didn't stop at 8th because that would have been a cliffhanger, and I didn't want to stop there. Because when Zato was face off against the homunculi, that was the end of episode 8. And 9 basically kind of wrapped up the story. So, yeah, great set of episodes. Can't wait to discuss the last 3, and I'm getting really close to wrapping up the series. Yeah, it's kind of sad that the fact that the series basically only had 2 episodes. I'm thinking though, like, wait, now this is kind of the same situation that was with is there not that one with No on My Smartphone. Great series. I haven't heard anything if in fact that the season received positive reception. I mean, I love the season they had for in All on My Smartphone, which is this is similar idea to that one. But in the case of this one actually has a good story with it. I love the story for this one. It's really good. I thoroughly enjoy it. Yeah. So, as of right now, as of episode 9, well, prior to the start of this arc, he had a party of 6. Now he's got a party of 8. Yep, 8 people. All of them except for 2 he owns. Yep, the princess who travels with him, and of course, well, actually, he does own the homunculi because she did become his master when Zen died. Yeah, it's interesting though. Zen's a good character, yet there's no wiki page for him. Well, there kind of is. And the thing is, they didn't really show what the guy looked like prior to him dying. So when he was brought back as a leech. Yep, a leech. Which I would have thought though, David Wade was a great choice. I think he did a really good job. Another guy who would have been really good aside from him is Chris Guerrero because he voiced Iron Zone Ghoul from Overlord. I would think though that would have been a good choice also, but I guess that they didn't want Chris Guerrero to be overexposed by having voiced 2 very similar appearing looking characters. The difference between the 2 of them is that Iron Zone Ghoul is taller than this guy is. This guy is the size of an average human, while in the case of Iron Zone Ghoul, he is basically twice the height of this guy. Like I would say about 3 feet tall. He looks like he's about 6'8", I'd say. Maybe about 7 feet tall. But in the case of this guy is roughly about, I think it's about 6 feet at most. He's the size of an average human. When they show him in the anime, he looks like he's just about a couple inches taller than Sato, which is quite interesting. His appearance is simply kind of like, it reminds me how Marvel depicts Lady Death in the Marvel comic universe, with the black cloak, the skull-like face, the bony hands, and the necklace is something that the show did, but it's a very similar look to how Marvel Comics depicts Lady Death. But yeah, that's it for this particular review. If I got time, I might get a chance to review the last 3 episodes of the series. It's distinctly possible. Which is maybe. And probably tomorrow I'll review in that last video what my next series is going to be. It's going to be something to talk about this one. But I just like the manga for it. Like this one is light novel. The next one is basically based on a manga. Which I review that next video, which I'll put up soon. Okay? See you next video. Bye.